In the shadowy corridors of American power, few figures loom as large or as enigmatic as Carlos Marcello, the so-called Godfather of the South. Born Calogero Minatore in Sicily, Marcello immigrated to New Orleans as a child, growing up in the hard-scrabble neighborhoods that would forge his iron will. By the mid-20th century, he had woven himself into the very fabric of Louisiana's underworld, presiding over a criminal empire that stretched from the French Quarter's jazz clubs to the oil fields of Texas. But Marcello's story is more than one of vice and violence. It is a tale of ambition, cunning, and a collision course with one of America's most powerful families, the Kennedys. Marcello's rise to power came not through brash displays of force, but through quiet calculation and an uncanny ability to forge alliances in high places. He understood the language of politicians as well as that of the street enforcer, and he knew that in the right hands, money could transform obstacles into opportunities. By the late 1940s, Carlos Marcello was the undisputed boss of New Orleans, controlling gambling, prostitution, and narcotics, while maintaining a low public profile. His reach extended far beyond the city limits. He had connections stretching across the Gulf Coast and deep into the heart of Dallas and Houston. But with power came attention, and the eyes of law enforcement began to turn toward the Crescent City. Chief among Marcello's adversaries was a young, ambitious senator from Massachusetts, John F. Kennedy. Kennedy's crusading brother, Robert, was even more relentless. As Attorney General, Robert Kennedy made it his mission to break the back of organized crime in America, and he saw Marcello as one of the most dangerous men in the country. The Kennedys' war on crime was, in many ways, a war on Marcello himself. The feud reached its zenith in 1961, when Robert Kennedy orchestrated Marcello's dramatic deportation to Guatemala. Dragged from his home and sent abroad without warning, Marcello was left stranded in a foreign land. But the Godfather of the South was not so easily vanquished. Within months, he engineered his return to the United States, slipping back across the border and reclaiming his throne in New Orleans. The humiliation of deportation would not be forgotten, and Marcello's hatred for the Kennedys became legendary. Rumors and conspiracies began to swirl. Some whispered that Marcello, angered by the Kennedys' relentless pursuit, had begun to plot revenge. In the murky world of organized crime, such whispers are both currency and camouflage, impossible to confirm, yet too persistent to ignore. When President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas in 1963, many looked to Marcello and his circle for answers. Congressional investigations, journalists, and amateur sleuths all examined the possibility that the Godfather of the South had orchestrated the ultimate act of retribution. While definitive proof has never emerged, the suspicion lingers, a testament to Marcello's enduring mystique. For decades after, Marcello continued to rule his empire with an iron fist, protected by layers of loyalists and the coded silence of omerta. He outlasted his rivals and survived countless attempts by law enforcement to bring him down. It wasn't until the 1980s, with the rise of new federal racketeering laws and the crumbling of the old mafia order, that Marcello's reign finally came to an end. Carlos Marcello's legacy is one of contradictions. A man who thrived in the shadows, yet whose influence reached the very heights of American power. In taking on the Kennedys, he cemented his place in the annals of organized crime, not merely as a regional boss, but as a central figure in one of the most turbulent chapters in American history. His story endures as a reminder that the true levers of power are often hidden, their operators as elusive as they are formidable.